Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first Medicaid workshop seminar. We hope that what we provide you with these workshops are going to be helpful and useful to you as you contemplate how to handle a Medicaid situation. We want to be sure that we do everything we can to help you protect your family and your home. And as we all know, nursing home costs are really out of control these days. Nursing homes are charging in the range of $15,000 a month for their residents, and it is extreme. And it is causing many people to get into some really crushing medical debt. And so what we want to talk to you about in these seminars is ways that you can use perhaps the Medicaid program to help you pay for a nursing home. Certainly, the crisis that is occurring in our country, not only with our virus that we're dealing with now, but with Alzheimer's in particular, is very difficult for lots and lots of people who have family, loved ones dealing with Alzheimer's. But I want to introduce you to our staff. My associate here is Michael Coleman. Michael has been with us for 6 or 7 years now, I guess, at least. And he has a degree from his undergraduate degree from his university in Connecticut. And then he went to a law school on Long Island, Hofstra University, and obtained his law degree. And then he did two things that I think are really amazing. He took the bar first in Massachusetts, and then he took the bar in New York. So that is 2 times putting himself through torture that I think is worse than childbirth. So I take my hats off to Michael for doing this. Michael is active with all of our probate and trust administration work here in the office. On weekends, he likes to take long walks with his dog, Logan. And this is some information about me. I went to Clark University undergrad school. And then after I had worked for a number of years and was still working full-time at Girl Scouts, I went back to law school and got my degree in the evenings and on Saturdays. In fact, I was in law school at the same time that my daughter was. So there's a little bit of information about me. Our law firm has been in existence for many, many years. We've been sort of pillars of the New Bedford Law Society since way back when my husband began practicing in 1969. We would ask you to visit our website if you'd like to know more about the various types of law that we are involved with. We want to tell you that we are members of the American Academy of Estate Planning Attorneys, and proud to be that. They provide us with all kinds of up-to-date information on the really tricky and extreme elements of estate planning. But they are a great help to us. So we're proud to be members of the American Academy. We are also members of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys, its Massachusetts chapter. NALA tends to deal more with issues of Medicaid with special needs and those sorts of things. So between NALA and our American Academy, we are really able to be up to date on all kinds of elder law issues. Now, here's some statistics that are pretty scary to people. What it tells you is that more of us women than men are likely to end up needing long-term care. But the reality is that has been the case up until now, largely because men have died younger than women. I think as time goes by, you'll see these statistics evening out, but the reality is that many of us are going to end up needing care in a nursing facility. And the cost of that care, as I started out saying, is very high. It's in the range of $15,000 or so a month. in our area, more on the Cape, more in Boston. And so what that means is people try to figure out exactly how are they going to pay these long-term care expenses. And there are really only two ways to do that. One is to use your own money. So some of the people who are in our nursing facilities are paying privately, so-called. But that means that they are paying the full $15,000 per month out of their own funds. And that drains people down very quickly. So the other way to pay for nursing facilities is through the program called Medicaid. And Medicaid covers long-term care in a facility. And people get very confused about the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. So we want to point out to you that Medicare is the program that is health insurance for all of us who are 65 years of age or older. So it pays for doctors and nurses, and it pays for some short-term care if you need rehab in a nursing facility. But it does not pay for long-term care. The only real way to get assistance to pay for that is through the Medicaid program. Now, Medicare, as I said, does pay some short-term care, but there are a couple of things that you really need to keep in mind if you expect Medicare to pay for your rehab. First of all, you have to spend 3 nights admitted to a hospital. 3 nights admitted, not on observation, but admitted. And then you have to be transferred from there to a nursing facility. And then you are able to have up to 100 days. But at the present time, most people are not able to use up their whole 100 days. They get discharged before that. So keep in mind that Medicare is not for long-term care. Medicaid is administered in Massachusetts by the Medicaid program. There are only 4 offices in the whole state of Massachusetts where you can deal with Medicaid. The closest one to us is in Taunton. So what are the basics of Medicaid? How do you get eligible for that? Well, you have to be at least 65 years of age or blind or disabled, and you have to be poor. In order to qualify for Medicaid, you really want to think of things in terms of your income and your assets, 2 very separate things. Let's discuss what that means. Are there income limits to be able to be eligible for Medicaid? Realistically, no, there aren't any income limits, but that's because unless you make $15,000 a month or thereabouts in income, you would be able to pay for that by yourself and you wouldn't need Medicaid. So unless you have that much in income, there are no income limits. But there is a restriction that the income of the person who is the nursing home resident all needs to go to the nursing home every month. That's called the patient pay amount. And there are only 2 usual deductions from that. One is the state allows you $72.80 a month for your personal needs. And the second is that if you pay privately for a Medicare supplement like Blue Cross or United Health, they will allow you to deduct the premium monthly for that. Now, if you are married, your spouse is allowed to keep all of her income, but the nursing home resident has to pay that patient pay amount. So let's think about what are assets. And when you think of it, you have to consider everything that you own. Not only you, but if you are a couple, everything you own as a couple. So, are there exempt assets? Well, a few, not many. Your house is considered an exempt asset if you live in it, but watch out for a lien that can build up. One car is exempt. If you have a contract with a funeral plan for an irrevocable funeral contract, that is exempt. And if you have life insurance that is worth less than $1,500 of cash value, that's exempt. But that's about all. Everything else is countable, and that includes bank accounts. Now, a lot of people think that retirement accounts are exempt. They are not. So IRAs or any kind of stocks or bonds that may include your IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, annuities, all of those things are countable assets. And the most important thing to remember is, what are the asset limits? For a couple, you can keep no more than about $128,000 in countable assets to be eligible for Medicaid. That's really a surprise to most people. And if you're single, it's even worse. You can only keep $2,000. Remember, this is a program for poor people. Now, when are you eligible? When you get down to those limits, unfortunately, and not any before. So if you have between you and your spouse, more than $128,000 in countable assets, you will not be eligible for the Medicaid program until you so-called spend down to that asset limit. So people say, all right, I'm going to give assets away. I've got loved ones. I would rather have them get it than the nursing home. Well, all that's well and good, but you need 5 years if you're going to do that, because you have a 5-year look back to be concerned about. If you are a couple, you can exchange assets between each other endlessly. Of course, that won't help in getting you down below the asset limit, but you cannot give assets away to anyone else, not your children, not your grandchildren, not even your favorite charity. And if you do give assets away, the state is going to impose a penalty on you. And the penalty is hard to calculate and figure out. But basically, it means that, for example, if you had given away $50,000, say, to your grandson in the 5 years before you wanted to become Medicaid eligible, you would be ineligible for 141 days. And when does that eligibility start? Well, it doesn't start until you're in the nursing facility and otherwise eligible. So what that means is you're in the nursing facility, you're poor, but you have almost a half a year of ineligibility. It's a tough program. So we'll conclude this first episode of our Medicaid webinars by telling you, be nice to your children because they'll choose your nursing home, and be nice to your lawyer because I'll help tell you how to protect your assets. The most important thing to think about is, please get into action. If you believe that a nursing home is in your future within the next 5 years, please come and talk with us. Give us a call. We would be happy to talk with you. And thank you for attending our first workshop webinar.